Let's discuss more now with former federal prosecutor Alyse Adamson. Alyse, let me just cut straight to it. Do you think the DOJ has a case here?
Well, Pam, I mean, that's an interesting question. I think what we can say right now is we know there's at least probable cause that there's a case here because James has been indicted. That is when prosecutors present the case to a grand jury and the grand jury determines that there is at least probable cause to proceed. But whether or not on the merits, the Department of Justice can ultimately prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt is yet to be seen. And I think what's also significant, Pam, is that there is reporting, as Carrick Scannell just mentioned, that line attorneys did not believe that the evidence was sufficient to get a conviction in this case. And the Department of Justice has something called the Justice Manual, which is internal guidance for prosecutors, which states that if prosecutors do not believe the evidence is sufficient to sustain a conviction, they should not bring a case. So again, yet to be seen, but interesting reporting that others did not believe that this was a meritorious case.
Like the DOJ's case against James Comey, this one was also brought by Lindsay Halligan. She's a former personal lawyer to Trump who has no prior experience as an attorney, as a prosecutor in a situation like this. She was the only prosecutor whose name appeared on the James indictment. What does that tell you?
Yeah, again, Pam, I think the question with this case is this law enforcement or is this payback? Because the timing here is critically important. We had that, what we now know was supposed to be a private message from the president to AG Bondi back on September 20th, urging Bondi to bring charges against James. Then we know that the former U.S. Attorney, Eric Siebert from Eastern District, did not believe in these charges and ultimately resigned or was fired because he was not going to indict Comey, probably also James. And so I think that what it indicates when you only see Lindsay Halligan's name is that other prosecutors did not believe in the case. And this is what I was just saying, Pam, that prosecutors need to believe that they can prove a case beyond reasonable doubt before they present it to a grand jury. So I think this is just consistent with the reporting, Pam, that the line does not believe in this case and that there is an argument that this is politically motivated.
Some might say, look what happened with Comey too, with the grand jury indictment. What do you say to that?
Well, again, what I would just remind folks is that the standard of proof, the burden of proof for the government to get an indictment is much lower than to prove a case in a criminal trial. It is just probable cause to believe that this crime has been committed. It is a very one-sided story as well. It's just prosecutors submitting evidence to people sitting there. We also know from the Comey indictment that not all the grand jurors voted to indict him on those two charges, and they ultimately couldn't get a third charge through that grand jury. So I think what it says, Pam, is that there is some evidence, but it doesn't really speak to the strength of the evidence. And again, the timeline where we know that there was a pressure campaign to bring these charges, I think is going to help Comey and James in their ultimate claims of a selective or vindictive prosecution. And we can expect to see those motions filed very soon, I would believe.
All right, Alyse Adamson, thank you so much.